Alright, so given the polynomial function f of x, you are told that f of x intersects the x-axis at the points 1, 0, and 0, 0. Are there any other roots? If so, find them. So, first thing that you want to do is, in reading the question, annotate what information we're given. So go ahead and pause and do that now. So hopefully you notice that the 2 points they give you, these are both roots, right? They give you an x value, which makes the y value 0. And so we know 2 of the roots. Right? We know that x equals 1 is a root, and x equals 0 is a root. And now the question is, are there any others? So once again, pause. Not only think about whether they do or they don't have, this function does or does not have more roots, but actually write out why. All right, hopefully you decided that in fact it does have more roots, and here's the reason it does. This is a 4th degree polynomial. If it's 4th degree, what do you know about it? Well, to create a 4th degree polynomial, you need 4 linear factors. What will each linear factor tell you? Well, each linear factor can be made equal to 0. And anytime your function is equal to 0, it's a root. So each time your linear factors are equal to 0, your function is equal to 0, so you have 4 roots. So you should have 4 roots. And so now the goal is to actually find them. So what I want you to do first, and this is the key step that I think is hard for most people, is to write f of x in terms of its factors. So we can write f of x just fine as x to the 4th minus x to the 3rd plus 4x squared minus 4x. But what I want you to do, and it's helpful, right? Think about how you would graph this function. If you wanted to sketch a graph of this function, it would be helpful to know what about this function? Well, if you want to graph it, first and foremost, it would be helpful to know the shape. You know the shape just by looking at this. It's a 4th degree polynomial. But what else would you like to know? Hopefully you realized, hey, I'd really like to know these roots. What's going to tell you the roots? How can you figure out the roots of your function? Well, the factors, each factor will tell you a root to your function. So if you can write this in terms of its 4 factors, you'll be able to sketch a pretty good graph. So let's try and do that. And notice that I'm only going to be able to fit 2 in here. How many linear factors do I know at this point? Well, I know 2 roots. Each root will tell me a factor. So think about the root at 1. What factor will go to 0 if I plug in 1? Answer, of course, is x minus 1. If I plug in 1, that factor will turn into 0, and my whole function will be equivalent to 0. What should the next factor be? My root here is 0. What factor will equal 0 when x is 0? Pretty simple once again. That's got to be x. I know there are 4 total factors, but I don't know the other ones. I haven't figured that out yet. How could I figure this out? So pause at this point. Go ahead and try and figure it out on your own. If you feel like you've made a mistake or messed up, start over. Create a plan for yourself. Go back into your notes, and only once you've given it a try, at least twice, come back and check your work. All right, so the process that's going to allow me to find my missing factors right here is going to be just the same process I would use to solve an equation like this. I'll give you an example. Let's say that I had, right over here to the side, I had 100 is equal to 2 times some unknown x. How would I solve for that? Well, to find my unknown, I will isolate it by dividing by 2 on both sides, which will tell me that my x value, my missing value, is 50. And the key step here is noticing that the inverse operation, division by 2, will allow me to solve for my variable. So what will allow me to solve for my missing factors? And you were exactly right if you said I need to divide by the factors that I know. So there are a couple ways we could do this, right? We could first divide by x minus 1. Then once we do that, we could divide again, but divide by the other factor that's on this side, x. And if we did that, we'd divide twice, and eventually we would end up with what our two missing factors are. But a more efficient way would be to first multiply these two factors together and then divide by everything. What I mean by that is I'm going to divide on both sides by both factors, x minus 1 and x. Think about what that does. On the right side, x minus 1 over x minus 1 is 1, so those will cancel. X over x is 1, so those will cancel. And so all I'll be left with is this over here. So let's go ahead and simplify. On the right side, I'll simply be left with the two factors that I'm looking for. Okay? Maybe we call those P and Q. Who knows? Those are the two factors we're looking for. And on the right side, well, what's going to be the solution? What are these two factors equivalent to? Well, they're equivalent to our function x to the fourth, not in factored form, x to the third plus 4x squared minus 4x divided by, and what is it divided by? Here's an opportunity to do a little simplification. What are we dividing by? Yes, we're dividing by x minus 1. We're dividing by x minus 1 times x. Well, if we simplify this out, what will we get? Exactly, we'll get x squared minus x, just by distributing the x in. And so now I can solve, I can do my division of polynomials over here on the left, and I can find out what my two factors will be equivalent to. So at this point, go ahead, divide your two polynomials and carry it on out until you can find your two missing factors. All right, so I'm going to take my division over here because I want to have a very clear workspace that will show exactly what I've done. So I'm going to divide over here on the left. So I'm